Hello, and welcome to Celluloid, where we conquer and pillage the movies that time has forgotten. Today on the podcast, we'll be discussing the 1975 John Huston film, The Man Who Would Be King, starring Sean Connery and Michael Caine. It's about two British soldiers, one of whom is Scottish, that decide to kind of take over a country in India and set themselves up as kings. And Cole and I had never seen this movie before, but we were kind of surprised at not only how good it was, but that the tone was much more comedic than we were really expecting. Today's episode is actually a bit special because it was suggested by my father, Alva Jones. He was nice enough to donate some money to the site, and he got to pick a film for us to do a podcast on, and this was his choice. And it's also his birthday this week, so we decided to go ahead and release the episode as a kind of early birthday present. So, happy birthday, Dad. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So, grab your rubies, dodge those arrows, and treat yourself like a god. It's time for Crushed Celluloid.
Today we are talking about The Man Who Would Be King, the 1978 John Huston film that was brought to us by Marcus's daddy because he made a donation.
He did. He made a donation and he suggested this film because he said it's always been one of his favorites and he feels like no one even really remembers it anymore.
Yeah, I believe it. I had never heard of it, and I'm pretty surprised.
I had actually only heard of it referenced by other things. Like, that's all it's happened. I knew about it, but I didn't actually know what it was or who was in it or anything. And I'm not sure if it's Huston. I think it's John Huston.
Is it okay?
That's at least that's how it reads to me. But this guy has done some amazing films. Like, his first movie was The Maltese Falcon. That's the first movie he made. Fuck you, John Huston. But he did a lot of great stuff with Bogart. He did Treasure of Sierra Madre, African Queen, Beat the Devil, Key Largo, all kinds of things. And he also directed Moby Dick.
I love his Moby Dick. It's by far the best that I've seen.
And he did a lot of good stuff with Paul Newman as well, like The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean and The Macintosh Man and shit like that. And originally, he was gonna have Bogart in this movie. Like, he was trying to get it made for a long time. It was originally gonna be, I think, Bogart and Clark Gable. But Bogart ended up dying, and then he kept trying to get it made with different people, and at one point it was like he wanted Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and they couldn't do it for some reason, and I think it was Paul Newman that suggested Sean Connery and Michael Caine, which kudos to Mr. Newman for doing that, because they have a fantastic chemistry in this film.
Surprisingly, they do. They were strangely good together. I would have never called it.
They worked really well together. They bounced off of each other fantastically throughout the film.
Although I will say, speaking of Michael Caine, that when you read the reviews about the movie, they talk about that a lot of critics said that Michael Caine was brought a little too much humor into the role, and I would almost say that's kind of fair. That it starts off kind of slapsticky almost.
I could see that, but Sean Connery does that too. He brings a lot of humor into the role as well, and I think that's kind of how it was written. I think it was supposed to be like that. But I read some reviews saying, like, oh, Michael Caine, like, overacted his way through that and stuff, and no, I thought he did a really good job.
I mean, no, I liked him. He was just, it was this strange, almost chimney sweep-esque caricature that he was creating, just very, extremely cockney.
And that's kind of Michael Caine, man.
I mean, it is a little bit, but I agree that it felt like it went a little far at times, that he maybe went beyond what the role was calling for.
Perhaps, but he still gave me a lot of laughs. Like, he was thoroughly enjoyable.
I mean, I thought he was very enjoyable, but at the same time, this movie kind of feels like Lawrence of Arabia with jokes.
Yeah.
Which is a very strange thing to kind of smush together.
I don't know, it totally worked for the film, though. Like, there were certain times where it seemed a little bit much, but overall, like, the humor was kind of very welcome considering the story they were telling about these two very unlikable people that did the shit.
That's true, I could see that.
Because otherwise, if they were just complete fucking pricks and there was no humor to their roles, there was no humor to the characters, you probably wouldn't have watched a 2-hour-long movie about them.
That's true, but I will say I don't think the movie gets really good until after the first hour. Like,
I will say, though, the first hour kind of flies by, like, pretty quickly, though. Like, it does kind of take it a while to get going until they actually get out there. their whole expedition and stuff and the setup is alright, but it takes a while to get going. But that first hour does kind of fly by, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm in the second hour of this movie now.
Yeah, like pretty much after the avalanche that comes, like I like the movie a lot more than I did for the first hour.
Well, that's kind of where it started for me as well, but I really enjoyed the scene right before the avalanche scene where they're just sitting by the fire thinking they're about to die and talking with each other. Like, that was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, no, it's very good, very, very well acted by both, except for their fake laughter. That was pretty horrible. But you know, it's hard to fake really loud, raucous laughter, I guess.
Well, again, I mean, it just also seemed kind of desperate and forced laughter because they're like, oh, we're about to die, but we have to laugh about it.
Yeah, it just kind of phoned in that, oh, this is why they brought up that echoes cause avalanches.
Yeah, it's called foreshadowing.
I guess. Foreshadowing about 5 seconds into the future.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a great film, and again, I'm surprised I haven't seen it. So definitely a thank you to my dad for suggesting this. But apparently, it did pretty well. I think it was like the 18th highest grossing film of '75. It made like 22 million on an $8 million budget. Roger Ebert fucking loved it. He gave it 4 out of 4 stars. And wrote a really nice review of it. It has like a 96% critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 91 audience on Rotten Tomatoes. And it was even nominated for 4 Academy Awards, which it won none of.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. I will say before we start, this is based on a Rudyard Kipling book, who famously wrote The Jungle Book. But interestingly, the story is kind of in the book. It's kind of cobbled together from these different accounts. Like, nothing even really remotely close to the story happened, but like 4 or 5 different accounts of things that happened around the Middle East are kind of cobbled together and make this story.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and also Rudyard Kipling is actually a character in the movie.
Yeah, played by Christopher Plummer.
Yes, and he's kind of just the narrator. That it's all this frame narrative.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how it's set up because he is a character, and, you know, Christopher Plummer, God bless him, but he isn't given a whole lot to do here except kind of look wide-eyed and just be really excitable and really against anything adventurous going on.
Just be the shocked Englishman.
Yeah, but he's kind of like the bookend of the movie. Like, he starts off by Michael Caine character, older now, comes back, and basically the whole movie is him telling the story of what happened since they first met.
Michael Caine is not just older. This is the most rugged-looking Michael Caine I've ever seen. Like, he has one of his eyes kind of glossed over. He has this crazy fucking beard rocking.
He looks grody. Let's go ahead and say.
He looks pretty gross.
I will say there are some really good makeup effects on him, though. Like, he looked really cool.
No, and I love the inside shots. Like, they were really well done, which brings another gripe that that comes to pass, that John Huston does so much better with like staging an inside shot than he does with most of the outside shots throughout the movie.
I will say towards the end he did a lot better, like especially in some of the chase scenes where he's like coming at different angles and like narrow places and things. Those are really cool shots. When
he's overloaded with people on the screen, he does awesome. When it's only like 4 or 5, it looks really awkward, and it seems like he doesn't quite know how to capture it. It's weird.
Yeah, there were times where I couldn't tell if they were actually on location, like especially when they were on their travels, like trying to get to the country. I didn't know if they were actually on location somewhere or if it was like a set build and there was like a matte painting behind them. I couldn't really tell in a lot of those, and I don't think it was captured that well, but overall, I think he did a pretty good job, and especially some of the earlier scenes where they're in the room, or especially on the train and stuff. I really dug those scenes.
Yeah, like I said, enclosed spaces, he was doing really well. Just once he got kind of open spaces, it was just meh. Like not nearly as striking.
Yeah, and it's also, I don't know, it's still very weird for me that Rudyard Kipling is a character in this, because it's not even like at the end after Michael Caine tells him his story, it's not like he's like, I'm going to go write a book about this. Like, he's just there as a character that really has no bearing on the story at all, except, well, I guess he kind of does, but it could have easily not been named that.
I mean, it easily, like, it's a frame narrative, so easily you could have taken the frame out, and it would have been the same story, just about. And I guess it gives you the foreknowledge that Caine is coming through this, but that apparently his partner that you learn later is probably not. I guess that's kind of what it's setting up as impending doom. Once again, foreshadowing.
Somewhat, but even the way it's set up and the way he comes back and tells him, it almost seems like, oh, this is where he got the inspiration to write, his book about this. But it's not really so much played that way. But I will say, as much as the opening scene is kind of throwaway, the ending scene is kind of amazing. Like, I really love the way this movie ends.
It's out there. But I love, so after Caine comes back, he's like, let me tell you a story.
It's story time, come on.
Yeah, so we go into Michael Caine's story, which is the rest of the movie until the last 5 minutes, and like, Michael Caine, he gets on this train with Rudyard Kipling, and...
Well, basically, it all starts because Michael Caine is just forever stealing people's watches.
Yes, yeah. He's a thief of watches, and he accidentally grabs one from a Freemason, Rudyard Kipling happens to be a Freemason.
Which took me a second to realize why he was like, oh shit, why did I do this? I was like, oh, okay, because he's a Freemason.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna fuck with a Freemason.
Yeah, it gets explained later, but yeah, there's this confusing scene where he finds him on the train, and then
I will say, when he's like trying to look for him on the train and like running by, there's some really nice like handheld camera work, like when he's kind of following him back, and the chaos of it looks really cool. Although there's a bunch of children on the train, and they keep looking directly into the camera as it passes by.
I missed that, but I would totally believe it. Yeah, like, it makes me feel like he actually filmed in India for these parts, because there's a lot of Indians around. I'm not sure if there's I'm sure you could find enough in Hollywood maybe, but it seems like they're probably on location.
It does, especially like the temple scenes and shit later. That looks very much so like they are out in India.
Yeah, I cannot imagine they built all those sets for this movie. That would be like a Cleopatra level insanity of spending a budget. But so he finds Rudyard Kipling on the train, and I love the scene where he's trying to give his watch back while Kipling's asleep, and he falls into him because the train moves, and he's just real quick like, "Can I borrow your paper, sir?"
I know he plays it off really well.
He does. He's quick-witted, that Michael
But then my favorite character of the movie that leaves far too soon comes onto the train. Watermelon guy.
Yes. This Indian guy gets onto the train with a watermelon, and he's really fucking nice, and he's like, oh, that's like, what is
he's telling who he is. He's like telling him who he is, like, oh, I'm this person. I think he was some kind of like correspondence. He can't read or write, but he gives the news to the illiterate of India or something. And Michael Caine's like, yeah, whatever, shut up.
Yes, Michael Caine instantly hates this man. It gets explained a little bit further, but and also, if a person got onto like somewhere where I'm trying to sit and just cuts open a goddamn watermelon, like that juice is gonna get everywhere, dude. Like,
I know,
seriously.
he doesn't fuck around, and he starts like spitting the pulp and shit like on the ground.
Yeah,
and Michael Caine just looks furious.
He hates it.
Like, how dare you eat a watermelon in front of me?
He's like, spit it outside. And so when the guy goes to spit out, what did he say? Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Is that what he keeps saying?
He keeps saying thank you to everything. Even when Michael Caine is like, shut up, he's like, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. And he's like, go spit your seeds outside. He's like, thank you, sir. And when he goes to spit, Michael Caine's like, and you can just go outside while you're at it. I'm just gonna keep doing this Cockney voice. I love it.
It's kind of wonderful.
It
reminds me of Captain Murphy doing his Michael Caine impression in C-Lab.
I mean, that's probably where my Michael Caine impression comes from, honestly. And Michael Caine just throws the Indian guy out the door, and you can hear it 80 yards in later. He's like, "Thank you, sir."
It was good, but of course he immediately. Rudyard Kipling is like, why did you do that? That's a dick move. And he's like, oh, he was trying to steal your watch, sir.
No, because he admits that he had stolen it.
No. He said, I caught this guy trying to steal your watch, and then he has this whole back and forth with him, and then when he's about to leave the train, he's like, I was actually missing my watch back at the train station. And he's like, well, that's weird, I didn't know about that.
That's true, okay. Yeah, but I think he mentions during the time, he's like, I had to fight those buggers or something, like talking about when the colonization of India and stuff, I guess, is what they're talking about. I'm not too
it definitely history. He talked about his history with that a little bit. He said basically he was in the Queen's Army, and he was conquering all of India and doing everything like that, but then he's just kind of left behind there, and now he just pulls shit on people.
Yeah, so Kipling goes and he meets Connery and gives them the message to meet Caine that Peaches is heading south.
Basically, the thing that happens in this scene is that he's apparently going to try, Sean Connery's character is going to try to blackmail somebody in the government by pretending to be a correspondent for, I think, the Northern Star, like a newspaper company that Kipling actually works for. And he's like, no, that won't work. I'm actually a correspondent for the Northern Star, and you can't do that. So basically, they get caught trying to pretend to be correspondents for that paper and trying to blackmail somebody with information they have on them.
Yeah.
And Kipling kind of saves the day and talks the guy out of pressing charges against them and things like that, which leads to a very funny scene of when they kind of march in together and they have their back and forth with the guy that's trying to talk down to them, and then they march back out. That is a hilarious scene.
It is. It's very Python-esque in a way. That's what kind of threw me off. I was like, is this a comedy? Like, this feels like it's going off the rails.
I really didn't expect there to be any comedy in this film, much less as much as there was, but this scene had me fucking rolling with laughter. It was so good, especially their little marching bit. Oh, it was so good. Yeah,
like after throwing the Indian guy off the train with the thank yous, and then doing this almost Monty Python bit, and then the scene that comes up when they go back to meet Kipling is just so much comedy so early, and it's kind of crazy how quickly it dissipates.
It's true, yeah, and I think they kind of set it up maybe to grab your attention and to kind of get you invested in the characters, so that when there's that kind of dry bit when they're just on their journeys trying to find the country they want to take over, you stick with them.
Yeah, and I that's why I almost feel like it's John Hust to me. Like, you know what? I love Lawrence Arabia, but you know why people didn't like it? It's because it was boring at first. We need to punch this up.
It's a bit dry.
It's a bit dry of a movie.
Let's toss some dick jokes in there.
Toss some dick jokes in. Everyone's coming to see.
Hey
Lawrence.
guys, I got an idea. You know, I'm gonna make Lawrence of a labia.
Now we're talking about two separate things.
Yes.
You're going off the rails, sir. But I love when they go back to the newspaper and Kipling's writing. And Connery and Caine come in, and they have this this is also where I thought they were con artists. Like, I mean, it kind of sets them up. They kind of are,
yeah.
Yeah, but they had this whole weird back and forth, and they start doing things symmetrically, like taking cigars and then lighting each other's matches on.
I loved that scene. That's where I saw like the brotherhood between them, like the camaraderie they have with each other, and that's something I think we need to learn how to do. We need to learn how to each get a cigar and then kind of like cross our arms and light each other's cigars, because it was awesome. They even lit their matches off of each other's matches. It was awesome.
Yeah. We would hurt ourselves, I guarantee.
Well, of course it's going to take practice, but it doesn't mean it's not worth trying.
I guess you're right. But the scene is also kind of crazy. I had to watch it twice because both of their accents are so thick that I'm just like, what the hell are they saying? Like, it took me a while to kind of grasp what their overall plan was.
I will say it was much more difficult for me to understand Michael Caine than Sean Connery, which was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, Connery's not nearly as bad. Caine is just, like I said, he is going full Cockney.
But if you actually like listen to what he's saying, he has a lot of really funny lines in it, and I love how neither of them know who the fuck Alexander the Great is whatsoever. But when he's telling them like what they want to do, it's like, oh yeah, no one's done that since Alexander the Great, fucking thousands of years ago. And he's just like, well, if a Greek can do it, we can do it.
Caine's just like, Alexander who?
Oh, you need to stick with that accent. You need to talk like that all the time.
I think I'm getting it down, and then so they write out this contract where they're not going to drink and they're not going to sleep with any women until they take over Kafikistan, which I don't know if you know what Kafikistan is. I had to look this up. I didn't know offhand, but it used to be a country. It's now no longer a country, but it was in like the northeastern Afghanistan region.
Okay, well, I kind of got that kind of where it was just based on what Kipling was telling them about the map, because he said, like, you had to travel through Afghanistan to get to this northern area. And he said no white man had ever done it. But so I kind of got, where it was, but I didn't know it was an actual country.
Yeah, it was a country, now is no longer a country, now it's just subsumed.
Thanks to Sean Connery.
They did a great service for Afghanistan. What lovely boys. And I love after they kind of write up the contract, Kipling just kind of leaves them in his office so they can study, I guess.
Well, it's okay though, because Sean Connery assured him that they would not steal anything.
Yes, so he leaves assured so he can rest well that these two strange men that stole his shit on a train are now in his office studying about Alexander the Great. I also love Caine when he's reading, and he has like a schoolboy's understanding of how to read. Like, Alexander the Great. It's so slow and kind of clunky. I really dug that.
Well, he's not known for book reading.
I don't go in for none of them book smarts, governor.
Okay, it's a little bit overkill now.
No, I'll get it back.
No, you have to save it for specific sweet moments when you feel those come on. But okay, so we cut to the next day when they're kind of, I guess, trying to get money together to go on their trip. But we see some of the most ridiculous shit ever. Because it's not quite blackface. It's more like brown face. Yeah. But it kind of looks like they just smeared some dirt on their faces.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Sean Connery has dreads for some reason. He is the only Indian in that entire village that has dreadlocks.
I was wondering, I was like, what the fuck is he wearing? Like, this is insanity.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks ridiculous.
And these people are so impressed by his ability to dance in a very stupid fashion.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of like Sean Connery as Jack Sparrow.
Huh.
Like the Johnny Depp pirate character. Like it was a little bit like that. Sorry, I thought that connected when I said it.
You know, when I was like, I know that name. I think I don't know what I was thinking. Jack Johnson? I don't know. But yes, it does kind of remind me of Jack Sparrow if Jack Sparrow danced a little bit more.
Well, you know, he does a little swooning back and forth.
He does a cut, yeah. But Connery's dance is essentially kind of taking a stick and kind of turning in a circle on one foot.
But doing it very sexy.
Yeah, so people pay him for this service.
Well, yeah, he's supposed to be kind of like a high or belligerent holy man?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it looks like he's having a ball doing this because he has the biggest smile on his face as he dances around.
It does. And so the Kipling sets them off, and he ends up giving Connery his Mason sign that Caine had originally stolen. And so they get to Afghanistan, and they start traveling with this caravan where Connery is perfecting his role as this mad priest, where apparently he'll just talk gibberish and Michael Caine will interpret it. And I love that Connery, like his whole mystical shaman thing, is kind of throwing sticks in random directions and then be like, ha ha!
Yeah, it's kind of wonderful.
It is. It's awesome. And then
they even have like a good like heartfelt goodbye with them. Like when they break off of the convoy, they're just kind of like waving and smiling. He does one last little dance number for them before he leaves.
And they love it. The audience is digging it.
Which, by the way, something that comes up starting around this time, but throughout the movie, is Michael Caine narrating it.
Yeah.
Which, it's weird because, especially the first time, it makes more sense as it goes on, but the first time it sounds more like his character in that time is narrating what's happening more so than his character in the bookends of the film narrating the story.
Yeah,
because it doesn't he doesn't sound older or graveled like he does in the opening or ending scenes. He sounds like the Michael Caine of that time that they're showing. So I wasn't sure where the narration was coming from. Like I wasn't sure if it was like the bookend of the movie narration or if it was Michael Caine as that character in that time narrating his own journeys for some reason.
I guess they were just banking on after half an hour that people just totally forgot that he was this whole thing started off with him as a graveled, rugged person.
I guess, but I mean, it wasn't like horrible narration or anything. It just kind of came out of left field, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from.
Yeah, I didn't really catch that, but you're right. That is a strange thing that happened. I will say this is also right after they break off from the group is where it started to feel like they were just playing Lawrence of Arabia B-roll. Like they're just
a
really
little bit
great.
They might have used some backup footage from it.
Yeah, like there were like really majestic shots of Afghanistan deserts, assuming that's where they are.
Yeah, that and then moving into like mountains and snow and
with the
stuff like
snow.
that. There are a lot
Yeah.
of majestic shots, but I don't know, they feel a little out of place, almost kind of like they did come from a different movie or something.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
compared to the rest of the film.
yeah, I mean it's not it's good, but it's definitely not David Lean good.
Yeah.
Like they're not shot nearly as lovingly as David Lean would, or they don't stay on them nearly
Yeah,
as long
no,
as
it's
he
more
would.
just kind of establishing shots, just like, hey, look where we are.
Yeah, and they're really cool and all, but I wonder if they really had to go to Afghanistan to get that.
Well, that's
Like,
why I feel, because it's kind of, especially the way it's shot, it's hard to tell if they're actually in those locations or if it's just like a matte painting and like some sets or something. It could go
Yeah.
either way just because they aren't that detailed in what they're showing.
Yeah, and so we follow them, and they rustle. I love when they rustle the mules from these guys. They see these four kind of Afghanistan farmers coming up, and they have this really weird plan. Like Michael Caine is acting like he's eating something to make them come up, but he puts a bullet in his mouth.
His plan is to spit a bullet in a fire.
I know.
to like surprise the guys so they can take advantage of them while they're surprised. But again, he spit a bullet onto a fire. That could have gone very badly for
Very
everybody.
easily.
Yeah.
That
You have
was-
no idea what direction that bullet was going to fire off in.
that was a very odd choice, I thought. Like that's something that's not the pre-plan. That's like last ditch effort plan.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was just the first thing that popped into his head. But I do also,
Yeah.
those four guys or whatever, I liked them because they kind of had a bit of charisma to them. Like when they
Yeah.
came up, they were just kind of like, hey, how you doing? Bowing to him, stuff like, yeah, we're about to rob you, so just calm down.
Yeah, they just start petting his boots. Like, no, I think we're just gonna take these boots.
Yeah.
I think that's just what's going on here. I love that Michael Caine. The reason he doesn't want to shoot them off their mules in the first place is because it'll scare the mules off. And then he spits the bullet in the fire anyway. But then the mules still aren't running away after they get all the Afghans, the robbers down.
It looks
But
like he's chasing them away.
No, Michael Caine runs at them like a madman, and they run away.
Well, that's the thing. I thought, like, no, you can walk up to them and try to get them, but it looked like he was trying to shoo them off or something because he's running and making them run away, and he's having to chase them.
No, and he spreads his arm and just screams at them. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would you do that to mules?
Exactly. Well, so they get the mules, but then they kind of he has another narration scene where he's talking about traveling with the mules, and he has a line where he was like, the mules are very contrary. They died.
And then we had one left. Then that one died too. Like, really? Like,
It was good.
It was. And so they find out that Afghanistan has snowy mountains, and so they're trying to traverse these. It's where we get the line, like, where Sean Connery is singing I guess the British national anthem is what I assume it is.
Fuck if I know. I'm not British.
Yeah. Fuck those guys. And then Michael Caine's like, you'll cause echoes, it'll bring an avalanche. And so they go and they get stuck, or Sean Connery goes snowblind for one. They get stuck in the mountains until they have their death scene that we kind of already talked about, where it's very sweet and touching. And just
It is that they have really. This is where their chemistry really comes through.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of back and forth and joking with each other, but they actually like share a moment here, and it's very nice.
It is, and you can tell Sean Connery's a little bit more worried, and Michael Caine's just kind of joking about it. He kind of realizes the futility, I guess, and it brings out both of their characteristics. Until they get to that really weird, awkward laughing scene where they have to act like it's the funniest thing they've ever heard in the world.
Well, because they have to cause that avalanche.
Yeah.
But it does, and it also shows just why their characters work well together. Like, it shows their differences and why they're able to mesh together so well.
Yeah. I will say that the avalanche scene, the way it's shot from, like, when you're focusing on them, like when the snow's supposed to be falling on them, looks like something out of a bad Christmas movie. like something where, like, two children get lost in a snow blizzard. Like, Jimmy, where are you? Like, that kind of thing. Like, it looks really bad.
Well, and it's kind of funny, like, how the scene plays out, because the reason they're stuck and they think they're gonna die is because they get to a point where the bridge they cross to get on one piece of ice is gone, and then on the other side of that ice, there's nothing to connect them to the other side, just a huge drop. So when they cause the avalanche, apparently it fills up that gap, and they're like, oh, we can make it across now. So, I don't know, it's kind of silly. How convenient.
Yeah, what luck. Even though we were on the brink of death, I guess we can walk another mile to cross, or another couple miles across this mountain. But yeah, so they get to the other end.
And the snow's gone now.
Yes, and they get into they're in Kazakhstan now. Kazakhstan? I can't remember.
I don't know. I wasn't even going to try to say it.
Well, you have not done your research on what they were talking about.
No, I made note of it, but looking at the way I tried to spell it, how I thought it would be, I don't even want to try to say it.
Probably for the better. I'm probably making a fool of myself, but what can you do?
That's what I have you here for.
Kazakhstan, governor.
Nope, still not right yet.
No, I'll get it. And so they get into Kazakhstan, and they see these townspeople kind of washing in a river, and this bandit tribe comes across, and they just shoot them all, end up taking a prisoner, go back to their fortress, where there's another kind of comedic scene between. So, what was it? It's a guy in the Royal Afghanistan Army, I want to say, or the Royal Kazakhstan Army. Is
like their translator guy?
Yeah, the guy that ends up being
his character's name is Billy Fish.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Well, I think he said what his real name was. He was like, but they called me Billy Fish. And he is the new best character of the movie.
Yes.
He is the best character we've seen since Watermelon Guy. And his catchphrase that he has is, "By Jove." He says that 18 times. He just throws it randomly into sentences. And by the way, there's another catchphrase in this movie that I think needs to come back, and I think we're the guys to bring it back. God's holy trousers.
Yeah, I noted that one.
God's
holy trousers.
Yeah, that came up so many times. I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like that. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, that was a strange one. Never heard it. I wonder if that's just Michael Caine's strange imagination, or if that actually.
Well, even Sean Connery uses it a lot too, and I don't know if that's maybe just a British expression, or if that's just something they came up with and they really liked it, so they kept using it.
I guess so. I don't know. And then he takes him inside the rebel camp to meet the rebel leader. And I love that this is a rebel army of the most timid people in the world. The leader comes out of the door and then almost as quickly tries to go back inside. No. They just want to talk to you.
Well, he's scared.
He is. They're all scared of these men.
But by the way, I don't think we've even mentioned this, but their plan was to come to this country where all it is, they don't even know how big the population is, but it's just all these little warring tribes that just fight with each other. And basically they want to get on the good graces of one of these tribes and basically be like, hey, we're British. We know how to soldier. We'll take care of all your enemies for you. And they build it up until, that guy is a powerful king, and then they subvert him and become kings themselves. That's their plan.
Yeah, we failed to mention that. But this is the first step in their plan, and they're just like, we're gonna train your army. And another one of this scene, it tries to be funny, but it's really not. Did you like it when they're training the army?
There were some good moments in it. Mostly just with the dialogue more so than the cutting to the very meek savage people and just being like, oh, they don't understand how to march, or they don't. Yeah. I really did not like the scene where he was trying to get them to say 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
that kind of bothered me. But there was some times when they're just kind of walking around and talking about them, but of course those people don't understand what they're saying. That there are some funny lines. I really enjoyed Sean Connery's bit when he's walking around and talking about what makes a good soldier and about how you just have to lead or you have to follow your orders without thinking. Is do you think anyone would go fight for Queen and country if they actually stopped for a second to think about it? No, of course not. But he also is no, you just have to kind of be stupid and just do whatever your superiors say. And he's him there with the 5 hat size, he has the makings of a hero. And it's just that very meek and timid guy in the next scene that doesn't know how to put his feet together. Right?
Yeah.
That was a funny line. But but it wore on a little bit long, I think.
Yeah. The Michael Caine training scene was pretty subpar.
Yeah, I like the Sean Connery one a lot more than the Michael Caine one.
Yeah, those are all right. And so then they go to fight a battle, and they have
but by the way, they get Yeah, well, basically they get the leader, Utah was his name,
Mm-hmm.
like on their side, and Billy Fish basically he's kind of comic relief, but he's also their translator since he does
Yeah.
speak the language and they do not. But he basically, they tell him about their plan. They're like, "Hey, we'll take care of all your enemies and blah blah blah, and you'll be known as Utah the Great." And then he says something, and it cuts to Billy translating. He's like, he says he prefers Utah the Terrible. And then it cuts back to him, and he has the silliest, like, smirk, like, evil smirk on his
He
face.
does. Yeah, I like that guy. he's he's stupid. And so they go to another town, like a bigger town or a bigger, I don't know, maybe a military base, and they are outnumbered like 20, like 10 to 1
Oh,
easily
yeah,
by these
easily.
people. But they have rifles, so they're kind of winning. And then they have Sean Connery, or I guess they're never winning, but Sean Connery decides he's just gonna charge into the middle of these men with spears and stuff just on his horse. Like he has no goddamn sense.
Pretty much, and he explains it away after the fact. He's like, the blood was boiling. It was pumping. I got excited. I just went out there. But before they even get into the actual fighting, like, they're all set up and ready to fight, and then all of a sudden everyone kind of drops down onto their faces, and, like, this group of monks just walks right in the middle of the battle lines, like, right through it, and they all just kind of pause while they walk through, and then they're not even completely off screen yet, but they're mostly past, and like, all right, we can fight now.
Yeah, that part was really awesome. Like they're getting ready to fight and everything, then everyone just kind of drops, and Connery and Caine are like, "What are they doing?
Yeah,
Like, what's happening?"
monks make war go on pause.
Yes, essentially. And I love that the monks, they can't open their eyes, so they see no evil while they're out of the monastery, and so they just have this weird game of like holding the shoulder, like kind of touching the shoulder
Yeah,
of the
just to
person
make
in
sure
front of
you're
them every once in a while.
yeah, to make sure you're still following them.
Yeah, they look very silly holy men. And so all that happens, the war starts, Connery goes crazy and just charges in the middle of this battle and lasts a surprisingly long time before he gets shot with an arrow, which hits his something like a
Like,
leather strap.
yeah, a leather strap he has on, and so he kind of like he keeps fighting, but then he pulls it out of himself, and he's like, "Nah, yeah, no blood."
Yeah, and so the people just bow to him as if he's a god, and that sets off the next part of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much, and this is where the movie does start to get really good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that he is just seen as a god now because he was struck with an arrow and he didn't die and he didn't bleed. Which, it was just a fluke. It was just a lucky fluke.
Yeah, and then Udar the Terrible is about to start beheading people in the town.
Which he has a lovely bit of business in this, because he's like there and he has a sword and he's about to cut off the head of one of the prisoners they took. But then he like stops and he's like, no, it's not quite sharp enough yet. Hold on just a second. And he runs over and starts sharpening it on a wall.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if that would work or not. I think it would.
I don't know. I just thought it was a funny little bit of business he had.
It was, yeah. And then when he comes back and he's trying to behead him, Connery stops him. And I love that he's just like, "I'll behead you," and Connery just kind of slaps him with his horse whip in the hand, and then he just kind of, the sword drops and he kicks him over. Like very, very belittling of him instead of actually hurting him.
Well, this is a scene where actually I thought it was kind of well played out. So basically, they say like, "Oh, we're not going to kill any of the prisoners. We're not going to rape your daughters. We're not going to do anything. Just bring all your valuables to us, and we'll take half of them, and we'll leave you with half." But then he's like, "Oh, well, do you guys have enemies?" And basically, it's a complete retread of what happened when he originally met the first tribe. He's like, "Oh yeah, he has these enemies and these enemies and these enemies," and like they even like piss downstream when they're going bathing. And they said that again. I was like, God, like it's just a never-ending cycle. Everybody is pissing downstream on everybody when they go bathing. This is why wars happen.
You think somewhere along the line someone would think to just move their town upstream and then the whole problem would be dealt with. But yeah. Yeah, so Connery's a god, and essentially they just keep marching, building their army.
Yeah, because if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Yep, yeah. And
that's words I live by.
I will live and die by those words. And they get to a town where Connery meets the love of his life, unbeknownst to him.
Which, why the fuck is her name Roxanne? Doesn't that seem like a kind of odd name?
Though, I mean, the only thing I can guess is they were talking about that Alexander the Great used to rule there, so maybe that name just got passed down
I
because
guess,
that
yeah,
was his wife.
yeah, that was his wife. Which, by the way, the lady that plays Roxanne, that is Shakira Caine. It's Michael Caine's wife. And
No way.
wowzers, she is
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is very beautiful. He did very well for himself.
Yeah, and Sean Connery takes it upon himself to I fuck the shit out of her.
Which I'm sure he gave Caine a lot of shit about when they filmed that. Hey, I think she likes me.
I think I'm gonna take your wife in the trailer and bollocks her. That's Connery.
I don't think bollocks is used that way.
No.
Bugger her. Bugger her, I think would have worked.
Yeah.
I think that means doing her in the butt.
No, I'm gonna bollocks her bollocks.
You know all the fancy slang terms.
Yeah,
You got nothing.
England, I don't know.
you just.
I've seen Train Spotting. I think that counts a little bit.
So I know cunt is used a lot.
that's pretty much my English terminology. Just
cunt and bollocks.
Just keep saying cunt and bollocks, and you know what? You'll come up with something.
Yeah, you'll probably make a lot of friends.
I think so. It's my plan for my trip to England, and so. And the Connery wants to have this woman, but she's afraid of him. When he asks why, it's because God's veins are full of fire, and so if he sticks his dick in her, she's gonna burst
explode.
into flames. Yeah, she'll explode with God flame, and so this is where the holy men come back and pretty much tell Sean Connery, you have to come to our temple.
And they're just kind of like, fuck, we got too big.
Yeah, and so yeah, Michael Caine's like, no, we have to do this, and so they go to this temple, and Connery's trying to play big man and everything.
Which, yeah, this is the start of where you can kind of tell it's going to his head a little bit that he's being treated like a god.
Yeah, and he kind of like when he's kind of showing the holy man the arrow that he's been carrying around like an emblem or something, and the holy man takes it. He's like, oh yes, and he gets Connery to go stand, and Connery's just like, stand back, boys, talking to the Caine and the
stand back, you mortals.
Stand back, you mortals. I can't, man, my Connery. I need to work on that. And so then Archer comes up and he's about to shoot an arrow at Connery, and he's like, "Oh shit!" I love his face, and then like everyone just freaks out because they're not letting him do it. Rip his shirt open to find the Freemason symbol.
Yeah, they were about to stab him in the heart with a knife to see if he's a god.
Yeah.
So it could have gone very bad. But, I guess this goes to show being a Freemason does have its perks.
I'm joining tomorrow for my trip to Kazakhstan. And it turns out the Freemason symbol is the symbol of their god.
Yeah, they're
god.
all Freemasons, pretty much.
Yes, apparently.
Which I guess just means that Alexander the Great was a Freemason, and it's just been that way ever since.
I wonder. And I'd really like this part of the film, because this is where they kind of accept that Connery's a god, and that he's actually the highest god, I guess.
Well, second highest god. Only below their giant statue.
Yeah, he's the child of giant statue.
Which,
god.
by the way, something that I think was a missed opportunity, or maybe it was just teased to kind of fuck with you. I expected that statue to fall down at some point, because it did not look sturdy at all. And there was even a shot towards the end, like when they have to run away, where I don't know if it's the camera or what, but it kind of looks like it shakes a little bit. I was like, oh my god, it's going to fall. And no, it never falls.
I totally saw that. I thought that was about to be like their way of getting away. It's just like, oh no, they broke our god thing.
Yeah, or I thought like they anchored the gods so the statue was going to fall over onto them or something. But no, nothing ever happened with it. It was a shame.
Yeah, but I do have to say this is my favorite point in the movie.
Because you see Sean Connery's butt?
Mostly. I drew pictures. I will send them to you.
It's so pale and pasty. It's wonderful.
He's a very pasty man.
By the way, there's a lot of booty in this film. Let's say that.
There is, yeah.
Because there's a lady that strips down. You see her booty. You see some Connery booty, and then in this next scene, you see some real deal booty. I'm saying little wacky wordplay.
Gotcha. But I love this scene because you can feel the tonal shift, and it just like the music gets really dark, like the screen, like the lens gets really kind of hazy as it films from on high and kind of askew. Like you can kind of feel something's changing in the film, and the rest of the
Well, that's
film
the thing,
really,
yeah. Especially it's the camera angles that really show that, because now
Yeah.
it starts a series of very kind of like the camera is above you, and it's just kind of like looking down. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
showing how Sean Connery is now looking at everyone else, like he is looking down on everyone.
yeah.
But it almost kind of plays as if it's like the gods looking down on the blasphemy he is committing.
I could see that. It is. It's because it's like I said, the lens gets really hazy. It's a different look than the rest of the film really has. And I loved it. I was just like, the movie is not going to be the same from here on out. This has to be a turning point. It definitely was, because pretty much the comedy is out the window for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. For the most part, it definitely is, and it does have some of the best shot scenes of the movie. Like especially because they have that palace that they're in or whatever, and there are just really good shots from inside of it that kind of show the space they're in and show like how big it is and how many people occupy that space, and just very well shot scenes.
Yeah, this is definitely where the movie just kind of, like, for the rest of the time, it kind of holds its own. Before, like, the first hour, kind of shaky. Mostly good, kind of shaky. Then it gets a lot better, but then, like, from here on out, like, this movie, I wish this was the movie, kind of. Like, I wish it had all been as solid as this last 30 minutes.
Yeah, basically at this point, Connery kind of gets drunk with power and goes a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But
and they also, first they see the treasure cove.
Oh yeah, which again, so much booty in this film.
So much booty.
But there's a scene, he's just going through and seeing all this treasure that Alexander the Great left that is now his, and their eyes are just wide with greed. Yeah. But there's a little bit of business that I like that I think maybe inspired Crocodile Dundee a little bit, because he's just like, oh, look at the size of this ruby, and Michael Caine goes, you call that a ruby? That's not a ruby. This is a ruby, and it's like 3 times as big.
Where the fuck did Michael Caine pull that ruby from that he couldn't see it to begin with? Like,
I don't know. I think that was one of the final scenes that was really like played for laughs. And that one didn't work quite as well given the change of the theme of the movie at that point.
Yeah, it played kind of weak, but it was just an interesting little thing. Like, I don't understand what it didn't. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, well then we basically get to see Judge Sean Connery,
yes.
Which I would totally watch that. I was really enjoying that scene.
And I love that so essentially, just because I want to talk about how fucked up this is, his first case is a man who's kind of been whoring his wife out because the price for adultery is 6 cows, so he has all the cows in the village. So Connery makes her give back 4 times the amount to everyone he had to all the wives of the men that they had taken the cows from. So she has to have cheat something like, what is it?
Like 14 and 2/3 more times.
Yeah, 14 and 2/3. Like, that's a really fucked up punishment, actually. Like that, like it should just be like, no, you have to give the cows back, and now you just have to live with this knowledge of your wife doing this. Like that seems
that's what it seems like the punishment is like, no, your wife has to do it more now, but she's doing it not so you can get rich, but so other people can get rich. See how you like that one?
Yeah. Seemed a little barbaric to me. That's all I'm saying.
Well, but his next case, he does a very good job.
He does.
Where, like, apparently there was one tribe where all of their grain they had been harvesting got burned up in a fire. So he's like, okay, so all the other tribes, you will give me 1/10 of your, like, food crops or whatever. And then if anything happens like that, you guys can come take what you need from my stash that I'll have.
Yeah, he essentially sets up a taxation system for Kafikistan. Kafikistan. And this is also where the hubris starts getting to Connery, where he takes Michael Caine aside like, when you pass me, you need to kind of bow down to me like I'm a god.
You're getting a little better, but
I'm feeling it out. I'm feeling it out. Which one I'm trying to go between the Caine and the Connery to kind of feel my way through there.
I hope you can find a middle ground where you're doing both of them at the same time.
I think that's what it's going to end up as.
But be careful because your head might explode.
It's getting there. And after this, essentially, they have to stay there 4 months until they can get a clear way to get back to India with all the gold.
Yeah.
And they could be essentially billionaires, like richer than anybody in the world at that point.
Oh yeah, because the ridiculous amounts of treasure
yes,
they have.
Goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah, but basically, all it takes is that 4 months for Sean Connery to completely lose his shit and be like, nah, it's my destiny to be here.
Yes.
I am the son of Alexander.
I am God. Like, he essentially has this moment, like this, and I loved it, because it kind of shows how off the rails Connery's gone, and Michael Caine's just kind of aghast. Like, it's the first time he's really been at a loss for words in the entire movie, and you kind of see that on his face, where Connery's like, no, just him giving me the Mason symbol, and like he's kind of putting all these coincidences together and be like, no, I think I really was meant to be here, like Alexander. And it's just, yeah, he gets megalomaniacal.
Yeah, there you go.
So Connery deems that he wants the girl that originally, the Roxanne girl, to be his wife, so he sends off for her. Caine's about to leave, but Connery asks him to be at his wedding for
yeah, which basically this is where it's the beginning of the end for him, for Connery as king, because basically they still believe that like, you know, gods can't marry mortal women, they can't have mortal women. So him wanting to do this and kind of not taking no for an answer, because he's like, no, I'm gonna get the lady I want. I am king, I am God. Like, you do what I say, I don't care, I can do what I want. So that starts to bring resentment, and people start questioning his power and stuff, and things are about to fall apart, as they need to do.
Yes. And it leads to this crazy final scene where they bring the girl to him, and I guess she's drugged?
I guess she has to be, because that's the way she seems, at least. But
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
that there is a split moment where one single little thing happens, and the Sean Connery we've known the entire movie comes back in an instant.
Yeah.
Like, all that happens is, like, he marries her, everything is very tense, it seems like the statue's gonna fall, but it never fucking does. And then he kind of, like, I guess tries to kiss her, like, bring her close, and she bites him on the face, and immediately he's just like, the slut bit me! And I was like, oh, Connery's back.
Yeah, definitely. Fuck this girl.
Yeah, I don't even want her anymore. I didn't know she was gonna be a dick.
You didn't have to be a dick about it, lady.
I know I'm marrying you against your will, and I'm gonna sleep with you against your will and make you have my children, but God, you have to ruin this money-making face.
I'm still taking you in the back of the trailer and buggering you, but I'm gonna be very upset about it.
Oh, you're getting it doubly bad now, girlie.
Then I am going to be apologizing about this for days.
I'm gonna think about apologizing for this for days, but I'm not gonna do it.
Because you're still a slut.
And I'm still God.
And
I bet it'd be fun to have, like, roleplay sex with Sean Connery.
oh yes, you are the Highlander, aren't you, girl?
Oh God, that's so awful. Chris Celluloid, guys, known for our otherworldly impressions.
just cranking them out on a weekly basis here.
Have you heard of Randy Newman? It's amazing.
Because it's gold. So essentially, her biting his face leads to him bleeding, which makes them see, like, oh, he's obviously not a god, and so everyone freaks out. And essentially...
Which, by the way, it's weird how they freak out, because they start freaking out, so obviously Michael Caine is immediately like, alright guys, we need to get out of here, so they just start walking away, but not too fast, not running or anything, just kind of walking, and he's yelling like, he's not a god, he's not a god. They let them leave, and then start chasing them.
It was really weird how they, like, right once they're out of sight, like, oh shit, now let's chase them.
Yeah, but I completely forgave it immediately, because this led to a really cool chase scene. And again, it's those high angles and, like, those narrow kind of, like, stairs going down to where, like, you see them running down and then you see the crowd coming through, like, really well filmed shots.
Yeah, and I want to say the reason they didn't chase them is just because they looked so stately as they were walking away. Like, you know, like the old adage, like, if you want to steal something, just look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, look like you're supposed to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and so they just kind of walk in this kind of military stride, and so I think
well,
that's
not only that, but even Sean Connery still, like, has his arrow, and he's still, like, holding it like he's king.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of what's going on. It's like, what's happening? Like, they're yelling at us, but they look like they're supposed to be doing this. So I think that might be where the confusion
It might be, but yeah, it led to some really cool chase scenes, and then like a really cool kind of final battle scene, which is a little confusing still. Like, I know at this point it's his army and they're kind of loyal to him, but they're shooting at monks now. Like, they wouldn't even look at them before, and now they're just shooting them down dead. That seemed a little odd to me.
I guess they just turn them into soldiers over time.
Yeah, I guess that could make sense, but still, it just seems like that they respected the monks so much to where it seemed a little off. But it was still a very cool scene where like they were having to like fire at the monks, take down a line of them at a time, and then still keep running backwards. But there's so fucking many of them that Yeah,
and pretty much they get overtaken, and it's left with Caine and Connery, and we essentially...
Which I will say, though, fucking Billy Fish went out like a pimp. He was like, oh, Billy, run. You can get away, probably. We'll keep them off. And he's like, no. I'm part of the army. This is what I do. And he takes out his sword, and he runs into the crowd of people, and he takes down maybe like 2 people, and then they just immediately take him down.
Yeah, and I do love something I don't think I've seen in another film, is that it's not even focused on, but after they start kind of enclosing on Caine and Connery, you can see Billy Fish's bloody corpse just kind of being flung up in the air in the background.
I did not notice that. I need to go back and see that.
You do. It's really cool. Really fucking cool. I loved it. Like, I love that it's not a focus. It's just kind of like, it's this celebratory thing happening in the background. And,
man, I wish I had noticed that.
It's good. And
so then the movie turns into Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for a moment.
I was like, oh, Connery was just one movie off from replaying this scene. And yeah, so there was this bridge that they pretty much a task he gave to the townspeople to keep them busy for the 4 months they needed to wait until they could leave. So they got them to build this bridge over a cavern, over a chasm, cavern, I don't know, chasm, not cavern.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so Connery and Caine start singing the Queen's anthem, I guess.
Yeah, they basically kind of make him walk the plank, so to speak. They kind of like make him walk to the middle, and he's all cool about it too. He's like, yeah, I fucked up. I mean, I got to be king though. That was kind of cool. So he's just out there, he's singing, just like waiting to be killed. But I will say, the scene where they actually do finally cut it and he falls, that looked so fucking good. Like, I don't know, that was a hell of a stunt. You could tell that was not a dummy. That was like a person they actually flipped. And I guess they just like, the way they showed it, there must have been a big mat right under where the camera was.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking
it looked so good.
I will say that the only problem with that is it kind of gives a concept of how deep that chasm is, and it's not that deep, but almost immediately afterwards, Caine's voiceover comes back in talking about how it took him 30 minutes to fall to the bottom. Like, no, it really wasn't that deep.
Well, I don't remember them really showing the bottom though, like, so I don't think we know, but just the way he fell and everything, like it looked really good, and then you could just imagine him falling for that amount of time. Obviously not 30 minutes, but he was just exaggerating, for dramatic purposes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just kind of the way it looks like they're kind of in between a couple of hills. Like, it doesn't look like there's a chasm there, but I mean
there was still at least like a good, I would say at least a good 50 feet that we see that's shown to where like he starts falling to where he'd have to land on the mat. So it's still a really good stunt that was done.
Yeah, no, good stunt. But I'm just saying I could see that they kind of changed camera angles or changed their set. Yeah. So that fall could take place, which is understandable.
Yeah, and basically this leads us to the end scene of the movie, the tail bookend of what's taking place in the present, I guess. But the movie takes such a wickedly dark turn in this scene. I don't know, I thought it was a beautiful ending because it's just so weird all of a sudden.
Well, I also love that Caine kind of talks about how he escaped, because he's still a prisoner when Connery dies.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, he said they crucified him to a tree.
Yeah, you know what they did to Peaches? They crucified Peaches on a tree. Then after a day, Peaches weren't dead. And they came up, you know what they said? They said it was a bleeding miracle. And they let Peaches go.
He holds up his hands and you see like the huge holes in them from when he was crucified on the tree, and that was just really dark. Yeah. But I guess it is kind of silly when you say it in that voice.
No, it was dark. Of course, it sounds silly when I'm doing it.
But also, he's talking to Kipling and basically finishing the story, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I got business in the South, important business." And he's talking about Sean Connery dying, and he talks about his head. which apparently he has like in a little satchel with him, because that's the custom out there, which is just silly because not only did he get crucified for a day and then go searching for Sean Connery's head, cut it off, and then carry it with him on all of his journeys, which I think he said it took like over a year for him to get back.
Yeah.
Just to bring it and leave it on Kipling's desk.
With this guy that he's met maybe twice. That was my big note. Like, the fuck did you just give him Connery's head for? Like, what is the point of this?
He opens up the satchel, and yeah, it is just like the rotting, like, skull head of Sean Connery, still with the crown on. And then it kind of like, it freaks him out a little bit, but it slowly fades out on like the face, like with the crown, it slowly fades into the crown. But then I'm like, that's how you fucking end a movie. Like, seriously. Also, Kipling gets rich off the crown afterwards. That's how he made his nut.
I guess everything did turn out okay in the end. And just thinking about that last scene where Caine is kind of talking about his crucifixion in the third person, it almost makes me wish he was just like the voiceover was that demented in third person the whole time. He's just like,
well, that's what threw me off. Like, it should have sounded the way he did in those two scenes. It should have sounded like he was much older, more broken, more cynical and shit, and just kind of dark and creepy, as opposed to sounding like the Michael Caine we're seeing throughout the movie.
Yeah, and it does. It's just like, the Peaches didn't like when Connery got above himself. No, he didn't. Like, I just wish it was this crazy Cockney character doing the voiceover.
He keeps calling himself Peaches.
Yeah, Peaches didn't like that.
His name is actually Peachy.
Peachy.
Yeah, but it made me laugh every time you said Peaches, so I didn't want to correct you.
Well, damn it.
Just you calling yourself Peaches in that accent was glorious.
No, fuck this. We're doing this again. We're starting over the podcast.
Peachy. Well, that was The Man Who Would Be King. Another special thanks to my dad for donating some money and suggesting this movie for us. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. You can also go to our donation page and donate a little bit of money to get some cool stuff from us, or to select your own movie for us to do a podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, where I make update videos and also do video forms of the podcast to put up on YouTube. And also, follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and all that other nonsense. And we'll see you here next time at Crushed Celluloid, where we'll be discussing the 1991 film Ruben and Ed, starring the always great and always a little crazy Crispin Glover. We'll see you next time.